My name is Daniel Prescott. I'm 46. I've been married to Megan for 16 years. If you'd asked me a year ago who wore the pants in our marriage, I would have answered with a laugh. I do, I'd have said. Always have. I worked in finance. Megan ran a small online craft business. We lived in the suburbs, didn't have kids, and followed a routine life. Dull? Maybe. But it was ours. We had our roles. I mowed the lawn, paid the bills, changed the car oil. She handled meals, birthdays, home decor. We weren't flashy. We didn't fight. On the outside, we were solid. But I think it's the quiet marriages where the biggest shifts happen unnoticed. It started subtly. At least, that's what I thought. One night after dinner, Megan said something offhand as she folded laundry. I think we've outgrown those roles. I looked up from my tablet. What roles? She smiled that sly smile that used to get her out of parking tickets in our 20s. You pretending to be in charge, she said, half laughing. Me pretending to enjoy it. I blinked. You're joking. Of course, she said. But there was something in her eyes that wasn't joking at all. In the weeks that followed, little things changed. She started making decisions without asking big ones. She restructured our home office, switched internet providers, sold my old recliner on Facebook Marketplace. At first, I teased her. Going rogue on me, Meg? She'd kiss me on the cheek. Just saving you from yourself. There was warmth in her tone, but command in her presence. She was glowing in a way I hadn't seen in years. And somehow, I didn't push back. One Sunday, while cleaning out the bedroom closet, Megan found something I'd buried. A box marked private. Inside, an old Halloween costume. A silky, slinky 1950s housewife dress. Complete with gloves, pearl necklace, and kitten heels. I'd worn it as a joke once. Megan had helped zip it up, giggling, and taken photos. But I'd kept it. When she found it, she didn't yell. She didn't mock. She held it up, looked at me, and said one sentence. You wore this better than I ever could. My ears burned. I opened my mouth to explain, but she raised her hand. No need. I liked it. She folded it carefully, placed it on the bed, and walked away. That night over wine, she brought it up again. Ever thought about doing it for real? I laughed nervously. You mean cross-dressing? She nodded. Not for Halloween. Not as a joke. Her tone was calm. Gentle, but firm. I shrugged. I tried it. I didn't hate it. But it's not what a husband should do. I paused. She smiled. What if I didn't want a typical husband? A few nights later, she asked again, but differently. Not with wine. Not with teasing. She came into the room holding a dress. My dress. The same silky, baby blue thing I'd worn years ago. Try it again. For me. I stared. Her expression wasn't playful this time. It was curious, hungry, expectant. I stood up, took the dress from her, and walked to the bathroom. My hands were sweating. Behind the closed door, I stripped down and stepped into the fabric. It slid up my skin like a second memory. When I walked out, she didn't laugh. She circled me once, slowly, like a sculptor inspecting her work. Then she said, Now, let's try some lipstick. That evening was unlike anything I'd experienced. She had me sit on a stool while she did my makeup, not garish, not clownish. Just soft. Feminine. She combed my hair into a slight curl, clipped in earrings, even adjusted my posture. You're slouching, she said. Stand tall. Chin up. Like you're mine. I looked at myself in the mirror when she was done. Daniel wasn't there. But I wasn't scared. She poured wine. We sat on the couch. No TV. No distractions. She reached for my hand and whispered, I like this version of you. The one that lets go. I wanted to argue. Say this wasn't me. But instead, I nodded. Because for the first time in years, she wasn't just smiling. She was glowing. And I was the reason. A few days later, she presented a list. A real list. Typed. Printed. With checkboxes. Household rebalancing guidelines. Megan decides attire for both. Megan leads during meals, finances, routines. Daniel may express thoughts, but decisions default to Megan. Daily mindfulness and femininity check-ins encouraged. I laughed. You're serious? She kissed my cheek. I'm in charge now, sweetheart. You said you liked it. I didn't remember saying that, but maybe I had. The following Saturday, I tried to reclaim things. I mowed the lawn, put on my oldest flannel, watched a football game with the guys. When I came home, Megan was silent. She said one thing. That's the last time you ignore the life we're building. That night, she had me kneel at the edge of the bed. I thought she was going to scold me. Instead, she said, "You need structure. So, I'll give you structure. And you'll thank me for it as my woman." The next morning, Megan handed me something wrapped in tissue paper. I unfolded it slowly, unsure of what to expect. Inside was a silky, pastel pink blouse. Delicate buttons. Slight puffed sleeves. "I want you to wear this today," she said. I stared at it, confused. Outside? No. Just at home. For me. My heart raced. I wanted to object. Instinct told me this wasn't normal. But then again, nothing about our marriage lately felt normal anymore. It felt electric. I nodded. Later, when I emerged wearing it, I felt bare. Vulnerable. Not because of what I was wearing, but because she was watching me differently now. Not mocking. Not testing. She looked proud. "You look soft," she said gently. "That suits you." I didn't respond. I wasn't sure I needed to. That day, I didn't go near the TV or garage. I spent the morning helping her reorganize the bedroom drawers. I watched her lead, and I followed without thinking. That night, as we sat on the couch, I asked quietly, "Do you think this will change things?" She looked at me, tilted her head, and replied, "It already has." The next day, she told me to come into the bathroom after her shower. She was brushing her hair, steam still rising from her skin, towel wrapped tightly. She pointed to the vanity. "Sit." I sat down, heart pounding. She picked up a foundation brush and began dusting my face. "Close your eyes," she whispered. I did. She worked quietly. Lip tint, subtle blush, eyeliner. She didn't rush. She treated it like art. When she was done, she turned the mirror toward me. I didn't gasp. But I didn't speak either. Because I couldn't believe what I saw. It wasn't Daniel with makeup. It was someone else. Someone softer. Someone more open. "Is this what you want me to become?" I asked. Megan stood behind me and placed her hands gently on my shoulders. "No," she said. "This is who you've always been. I'm just giving you permission to stop hiding." I stared into the mirror longer than I meant to. That night, she handed me a robe. Silk. Floral print. "You'll wear this at home now. We're redefining comfort." I hesitated. She raised an eyebrow. "I thought you liked pleasing me." I swallowed hard. Nodded. From that day on, I wore it every evening. At first, just to avoid conflict. But later, because I liked how it felt. And because she looked at me like I was becoming someone she truly desired. Every few days, a new change came. She had me replace all my socks with thinner, pastel ones. She ordered a special padded girdle to help your posture, she said. She didn't ask. She handed it to me and said, "Put it on." The first time I wore it, I winced. It squeezed, cinched, reminded me of its presence every second. But Megan looked at me and said, "Now you understand what discipline feels like." And somehow I felt seen. The changes kept coming, slow but deliberate. My office desk was rearranged. The old oak organizer gone, replaced with delicate floral trays and gold-trimmed stationery. She began addressing me differently, too. At first, she said things like, "That's my good girl," when I folded the towels properly or helped with dinner without being asked. Then one day, she said it without thinking. "Thank you, sweetheart," she said casually, handing me a glass of wine. "You're such a lovely little wife." I blinked. She didn't correct herself. And I didn't protest. A few weeks later, she gave me a silver chain with a tiny charm on it, the letter D. "It stands for devoted," she said. And delicate. And maybe something else, eventually. She clasped it around my neck and stepped back. I didn't take it off. One evening, while folding laundry, I picked up one of her blouses to hang and instinctively held it up to myself, turning toward the mirror. She caught me. I blushed, about to explain. But she simply said, "That color would look beautiful on you. We'll try it next week." And that's when I realized something. I had stopped resisting. Not because I gave up, but because I didn't want to go back. My routines changed entirely. No more morning jogs. She introduced me to gentle yoga and deep stretching. She selected my meals, my clothes, even my skincare routine. One morning, she woke me earlier than usual. "I scheduled you for a waxing appointment." I blinked. "A what?" She leaned close and whispered, "You'll feel smoother, cleaner, feminine." That afternoon, I laid on a spa table, blushing furiously as the technician began. It hurt, but later, when I slipped into my satin sleepwear, the smoothness felt right. I didn't tell Megan, but that night, I slept better than I had in years. One weekend, Megan hosted her book club. 6 women, all confident, sharp, and stylish. She told me to serve drinks and pastries. Wearing a soft blouse, slim pants, and an apron, she'd embroidered herself with the words, "Lady of the House." I wanted to hide, but they smiled. Warmly. "You're lucky," one said to Megan. "He's adorable." "He's in good hands," Megan replied, stroking my back gently as I poured the tea. That night, after they left, Megan pulled me into the bedroom and kissed me hard. "You have no idea how proud you made me," she whispered. "You're blossoming." I shivered. And I believed her. The next morning, Megan brought me a small box. Inside was something I hadn't expected, a pair of nude heels. Not towering stilettos, just modest, elegant 2-inch pumps. "They'll help your posture," she said, handing them to me. "And how you carry yourself when I'm watching." I looked at her, unsure whether this was a challenge or a command. "I've never walked in these before," I said. "Then today's the day you learn," she replied, without missing a beat. And I did. She had me walk back and forth across the living room, correcting my stride. Shorter steps. Shoulders back. Lead with your hips. Be graceful, not clumsy. Her tone wasn't harsh, but it wasn't playful either. It was instructional. Intentional. Every stumble made her sigh. Every improvement brought a rare smile. And for some strange reason, I wanted her approval more than anything else. Later that afternoon, as I removed the shoes and massaged my sore feet, she brought me a soothing cream. "Every woman learns," she said gently, rubbing my arches. "Pain is part of beauty." That night, I asked her a question that had been sitting heavy in my chest. "Are you changing me because you want me to be someone else?" She paused before answering. "No," she said. "I'm changing you because you've always hidden this part of yourself." I'm just bringing her out. I didn't have the strength to argue. I didn't want to. Another week passed, and with it, new rituals. She replaced our bathroom towels with softer, pastel-colored ones and reorganized our closet. My button-ups were pushed to the side. In their place hung several new blouses, flowing tunics, and 2 pairs of ankle-length, tapered pants in delicate fabrics. They weren't women's clothes. They were mine now. She also began introducing structure into how I moved through the day. Morning yoga in feminine poses. Afternoon chores while listening to her curated playlist of soft-spoken, powerful female voices. Evening tea, served on the tray. She had me decorate myself with a painted phrase along the border. "Grace begins at home." One evening, as I brought her tea and she sat on the sofa scrolling through her tablet, she looked up and said, "I want to try something." I tensed. She pointed toward the bedroom. "I want you to dress completely. Head to toe. Fully present." I swallowed hard. "Now." She nodded. "Now." Without a word, I walked to the bedroom. Laid out on the bed was a complete outfit. A soft lavender blouse with a pleated skirt. Stockings. A bralette. A padded girdle. Modest heels. And on the side table, light makeup and the pearl clip she'd worn on our 2nd anniversary. It wasn't a costume. It was a uniform. No, a declaration. I took a deep breath and started dressing. When I emerged, I felt bare. But not in the physical sense. She turned to look. Her eyes widened, but she didn't speak. She stood, walked toward me, and gently circled me once. Then she said quietly, "You're mine now." It didn't feel like surrender. It felt like home. That weekend, something changed. I caught myself humming as I folded laundry her way. I adjusted my walk without being told. I reached for lip balm and a light-tinted moisturizer without prompting. I was becoming. And Megan, she was thriving. Every day, she became more confident, more radiant, more in control. At a dinner with her friends, I sat quietly as she spoke with authority. Her hand rested gently on mine the entire meal, and when someone asked if we were still traditional, she laughed. "Very," she said, "just not in the direction you'd expect." No one challenged her. And I didn't correct anything. When we returned home, she pulled me close. "You were perfect," she whispered. I didn't say much. "Exactly." She reached into her purse and pulled out a tiny key. "This," she said, "is to the drawer I've kept locked for years." I stared. "What's inside?" She smiled. "Things to help you understand your new role. But you'll only open it when you're ready." She kissed my cheek and placed the key in my palm. It burned like fire and pulsed like electricity. That night, I didn't sleep. I held the key tight in my hand the whole time. By morning, I knew. I was ready. I waited until she left for her morning walk. The drawer key felt heavier than it should have as I held it in my palm, staring at the locked cabinet in our shared closet. The drawer was slim and discreet, almost unnoticeable. My heart thudded as I slipped the key into the lock and turned it. A soft click. I pulled it open. Inside was a folded set of soft white gloves, a compact mirror, a small pouch of cosmetics, and a velvet box. I opened the box with trembling fingers. Inside, resting gently on satin, was a pair of delicate clip-on earrings, silver hearts with tiny crystal accents. Beautiful. Feminine. And next to them, a folded card. To my Daniel, who's becoming someone even more precious. Beneath that, in Megan's script, "This isn't about what you wear. It's about how you let yourself be seen. Don't hide anymore. Let me lead you where you've always wanted to go." I touched the earrings, tears suddenly burning the corners of my eyes. I didn't know who I was crying for: Daniel, who was slowly disappearing, or the person blooming in his place. That night, I wore the earrings. She said nothing at first. But when I sat beside her and rested my head on her shoulder, she reached over, tucked my hair gently behind my ear, and whispered, "Now you're finally mine." The next few days were different. She didn't need to prompt me anymore. I chose my outfits with care, thinking about what she'd approve. I walked differently, spoke softer, listened more. She began leaving gentle reminders for me on Post-its. "Spritz the lavender scent before I get home, it's your scent now. Walk like someone worth watching. A proper lady never slouches." Each note made my chest tighten but also filled me with warmth. She wasn't mocking me. She was shaping me. I started noticing how differently people looked at us when we went out. I would walk just a step behind her, more reserved, more polished, and she carried herself like a woman who owned the room and everyone in it, especially me. One Sunday, she called me into the bedroom. A box sat on the bed, tied with a lavender ribbon. "What's this?" I asked. "A gift," she said, "but not from me." I raised an eyebrow. "It's from her," Megan whispered. "The woman inside you. The one you've let out." I opened it slowly. Inside was a dress. Soft green, flowy, elegant. The fabric shimmered faintly in the light. "She deserves to be seen," Megan said. "I can't wear this outside." "You will, when the time is right." "But what if someone sees?" She stepped closer. "Let them." I didn't reply. I couldn't, because the part of me that wanted to resist was getting quieter. And the part of me that wanted her approval was all I could hear. That evening, I wore the dress. Only for her. We danced slowly in the living room to an old jazz record she loved. her hands on my waist, guiding every movement. She didn't speak for a long time. Then she said, "You're more beautiful like this than you've ever been." And I believed her. The next shift came silently. She began referring to me differently even when we were alone. She'd say sweetheart instead of babe, darling instead of hon, and sometimes, my little one. And when I heard it, something inside me melted. I stopped correcting her. I stopped correcting myself. One evening, I was in the kitchen preparing dinner, wearing a soft floral apron she'd picked for me. She walked in, arms folded, watching me carefully. "Have you noticed?" she said. I turned, confused. "Noticed what?" "How good you've become at this. The rhythm, the routine, the role." I bit my lip. "I have," I said quietly. "Then say it," she whispered. "Say what?" "Say what you are now." I stared at her. "Say it? Say it out loud." I swallowed hard. I'm your." She stepped forward, cupped my cheek, and gently said, "Say it fully." "I'm your woman," I whispered. She kissed me deeply. That night, we slept differently. She held me, and I realized I hadn't just stepped into a new role. I'd let go of the old one. A few days later, something unexpected happened. A delivery arrived, a large box with no return label. Megan smiled when she saw it. "It's time." I opened it to find a beautifully tailored wardrobe. Blouses, skirts, lingerie, shapewear, heels, even delicate perfume bottles. And on top, a small pink envelope. Inside was a certificate. Not legal, not official, but meaningful. "This certifies that Emily has completed her training. Signed, your wife." I stared at it. Emily. I hadn't chosen that name, but reading it did fit. Megan came up behind me, wrapping her arms around my waist. "You don't have to decide tonight," she whispered, "but you've already answered." I held the certificate against my chest. "I think I already have." For days after that, Megan started calling me by the name written on that pink certificate. "Emily, can you pass me the brush?" "Emily, fix your collar before we leave." "Emily, you're glowing today." Each time she said it, I flinched a little less. And slowly, I started answering faster. I began writing it on sticky notes, doodling it on the margins of to-do lists. One morning, I caught myself whispering it in the mirror before brushing my hair. "Hi, Emily." The strange thing was, Daniel didn't feel lost. He just felt resting. Megan started taking photos. At first, they were quiet, just little moments. Me folding laundry in my soft dress. Me stirring tea in a floral robe. Me standing by the window in gentle light, the earrings she gave me sparkling. "You look so natural now," she said one evening. "Like you were always meant for this." It should have scared me. It didn't. One day, she surprised me. "We're having lunch with my cousin Rebecca this weekend." I blinked. She doesn't know. She won't judge. But she's curious. I hesitated. "So, she'll meet me as?" "Only if you're ready." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. That Saturday, I dressed carefully. Megan laid out a soft blouse, a flowing skirt with subtle pleats, and a cardigan with pearl buttons. She helped me curl my hair, applied soft pink lipstick, and spritzed the perfume I'd started keeping on my vanity. When we arrived at the cafe, I was shaking. Rebecca was already seated. She stood when she saw us, and when her eyes landed on me, she paused for only a moment. Then she smiled warmly. "So this is the famous Emily." My knees nearly buckled, but I smiled. "It's nice to meet you." And it was. Lunch went smoother than I expected. Rebecca asked polite questions, complimented my earrings, and shared stories about Megan from college. Not once did she look at me strangely. Not once did she say he or Daniel. As we walked back to the car, Megan slipped her arm around my waist. "I'm proud of you." I didn't cry, but I wanted to. That night, we sat by the fireplace. Megan poured wine and handed me a gift bag. Inside was a phone case. Pink, subtle shimmer, and embossed in gold script. "Yem." "I think it's time," she said. "For what?" For you to stop pretending you're just experimenting. You're living it now. You've stepped fully into it. I'm not ready to be someone else full-time. You're not someone else, she said softly. You're the real you now. That night, I slept in her arms, the perfume still lingering on my skin. And for the first time in months, I didn't dream about getting caught. I dreamed about being seen and embraced. But reality has a way of creeping in. And sometimes it doesn't knock before entering. 3 days later, the doorbell rang unexpectedly. Megan was out on errands. I peeked through the curtain. It was my younger brother, Chris. My heart dropped.
I had no time.
No time to wipe off the makeup. No time to change the blouse. No time to pull off the earrings. I opened the door barely. He raised an eyebrow. Hey, is Megan home? No, I said quickly. My voice was softer than usual. She stepped out. Chris looked confused, then did a double take. Wait,
Dan.
I swallowed. Yes. He blinked again.
Wow.
Okay, didn't expect that. He laughed. But not cruelly. Just surprised. I stepped aside. Do you want to come in? Sure, I guess. He sat down slowly, eyes still flicking over my appearance. I felt exposed, like I was made of glass. But he didn't leave.
He didn't mock me.
Instead, he asked quietly, "Is this what you want now?" I didn't answer. He nodded slowly. So Megan knows? She let it. Another pause. Then he smiled faintly.
Well.
You look happy. Weirded me out for a second, sure.
But
I guess it fits. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You're not angry? He laughed. Dan, I've seen way weirder things in our family. He stood, walked toward the door. You do you, man. Or you do you, Emily. As the door shut behind him, I slumped against the wall. My breath caught in my chest. I had been so sure I'd lose everything. But I didn't. And suddenly I realized something. It wasn't the world I was afraid of. It was me. The next morning, Megan was waiting in the kitchen, arms crossed, eyes intense. He told me, she said plainly. Chris. She nodded. He said he saw you.
Dressed.
Soft-spoken. Nervous. But confident. I held my breath, bracing for anger. Judgment. Instead, she smiled. He said you were glowing. A wave of unexpected relief washed over me. I exhaled. He's okay with it? She stepped closer. He said, she suits him. Then she tilted her head, correcting herself. Correction. She suits you. That afternoon, Megan didn't just dress me, she styled me. Not just makeup. Not just clothes. But posture.
Poise.
Presence. She had me walk around the house with a book balanced on my head. Back straight. Chin soft. Feet light. Again. I walked. Again and again. My calves ached. My neck burned. But I didn't stop. She watched me like a sculptor fine-tuning a masterpiece. I'm preparing you, she said, brushing a strand of hair from my face. For what? For the next step. She handed me a silver bracelet with a small, feminine charm shaped like a key. What's this for? I asked. To remind you, I unlocked this version of you. And if I lose it? She smiled gently. Then you've lost me. The next few days were strict. Structured. Morning affirmations whispered in front of the mirror. Afternoon routines, chores done with grace, not haste. Evening tea always served at the same time, on the floral tray, with a curtsy. Megan didn't demand anymore. She expected.
And
I delivered. Because now it wasn't about shame, or guilt, or fear. It was about belonging. About finally living out loud what I'd hidden so long. One morning, I found a new note on my mirror. Your voice is almost there.
Softer.
Warmer. Own it. That day, I spent an hour practicing tone and pitch, listening to how I spoke, how I was heard. When Megan came home, she raised an eyebrow. You're glowing again. I smiled. I feel like her. For real. Megan leaned close, whispering, then it's time for the real test. She opened the wardrobe, pulled out a new dress. Sky blue, lacy sleeves, a hem that flirted just above the knee. Try this on. We're going out. My chest tightened. Out? Where?
The mall.
Just errands. Nothing dramatic. But people. She stopped me. People will stare no matter what. Let them see your grace. I dressed slowly, nervously. She did my makeup herself. Every stroke gentle, exact, affectionate. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't see Daniel trying to pass. I saw Emily poised, composed, elegant. Outside, the sunlight hit differently. It wasn't just warm. It was daring. In the car, my legs pressed tightly together. My hands folded neatly on my lap. Every second, I was aware of how I moved. Saturday.
Spoke.
But Megan kept smiling. You're doing beautifully. In the mall, eyes did turn. Some lingered. Some didn't. One older woman even smiled at me, then glanced at Megan and said, "Your daughter has such lovely style." We froze. Megan just chuckled, arm wrapped around mine. She gets it from me. And just like that, we kept walking. Later that evening, back at home, I collapsed onto the couch. I don't think I've ever been that nervous. Megan crouched in front of me, taking off my heels one by one. You were perfect. I looked at her. This isn't just about fun anymore, is it?
No, she said.
It hasn't been for a long time. I swallowed. Then what is this?
She stood, took my hand,
guided me into the bedroom. This, she said, is the new beginning. The moment when Emily stops hiding in the house and starts living in the world. I stared at myself in the mirror.
Still dressed.
Still made up.
Still soft. Still me.
And for the first time, I didn't question who I was becoming. I only asked what she might do next. The next week was quiet. Too quiet. Megan didn't give instructions like before. She watched. She observed. And I kept living. I didn't wait for her permission to wear a skirt anymore. I didn't hesitate before spraying perfume or adjusting my voice. But the silence was strange, as if she were holding her breath for something I hadn't seen coming yet. One evening, I found her sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at her phone. I asked if something was wrong. She handed it to me, a message thread with her mother. Coming to visit next weekend. Haven't seen you both in forever. Can't wait. I froze. Her mother, the sharp-tongued, traditional woman who once lectured me for not opening the car door for Megan fast enough. She doesn't know, I whispered. Megan shook her head. Not yet. I stared at her. Are we canceling? No, she said firmly. We're hosting. As us. I stood in silence. She took my hands. I'm not asking you to fake anything. I'm asking you to stand beside me as who you really are now. I could barely breathe. She's going to hate me. She already disapproved of Daniel, Megan said. But she might admire Emily. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, clutching the pillow, running through every possible way the visit could go wrong. But somewhere in the middle of that anxiety, a strange confidence rose up. Because Megan was right. Daniel never got her respect. Maybe Emily had a shot. The day her mother arrived, the house was spotless. Tea set out. Flowers trimmed. I wore a modest blouse, ankle-length skirt, flats, and Megan's pearls. My heart thudded in my chest like it was trying to escape.
The doorbell rang.
I stood behind Megan as she opened it. Her mother stepped in, all perfume and stiff posture. And then she saw me. Her eyes scanned up and down. Lips parted. She didn't speak right away. Finally, she turned to Megan. This is Emily, Megan said calmly. My partner. A long pause. The silence stretched until I couldn't take it. I stepped forward, holding out a hand. It's lovely to finally meet you again. Her eyes flicked to my bracelet.
The charm.
The nails. The heels. Then slowly, she took my hand. Well, she said, voice thin, you do have excellent posture. And that was it. She didn't explode, didn't scream, didn't storm out. She sat down,
sipped her tea, commented on the wallpaper.
And Megan squeezed my knee under the table, beaming. Later, After she left, we collapsed onto the couch, laughing hysterically from pure tension. She didn't kill me, I gasped. She complimented you, Megan added. That's a miracle. I don't even care if she meant it.
And neither did she.
But the moment also made one thing clear. There was no going back now. We had crossed the final threshold. And then came the real test. Megan got a promotion. A big one. A fancy dinner. A +1 required. And she didn't hesitate.
You're coming, she said.
As yourself. My throat tightened. In front of your entire office? She nodded. I said nothing. But I didn't say no. The day of the dinner, she laid out a navy dress. Fitted.
Classy.
Serious. We spent nearly 2 hours getting ready together. She did her eyeliner. I did mine. We styled our hair side by side. At the event, heads turned. Some looked twice. A few whispered. But no one said anything aloud. Megan introduced me with grace and power. This is Emily, she said to her boss. My wife. Her boss blinked. Then smiled. Charming, he said, shaking my hand. That night, we drove home in silence. Not the nervous kind. The proud kind. The powerful kind. The kind where you don't need words to know. We did it. But not everything can stay perfect forever. 2 days later, I opened the door to find my parents on the porch. Unannounced. I froze, still in full Emily mode dress, flats, nails, light makeup. My mother's eyes widened. My father just frowned. They didn't speak. And I didn't hide. I stepped back. Come in. Inside, we sat. The silence was louder than any conversation. Finally, my mother whispered, You're our son. I said gently, but I'm happier now. She stared at the floor. My father looked angry but confused, too. You let her do this, do you? He asked. I shook my head. She didn't do anything to me. She set me free. Megan stepped in then, wrapping an arm around my shoulder. Daniel was always tired, always anxious. Emily isn't. She's alive. My father stood. I need a moment, he muttered, walking outside. My mother stayed behind, eyes glistening. She looked at me for a long time. Then she reached over, brushed a strand of hair from my cheek. You're softer now, she whispered. But stronger, too. And then she smiled. A tiny, trembling smile. The next morning, Megan handed me an envelope. Thick, formal, with gold lettering. I opened it, and my eyes scanned the words slowly. You are cordially invited to the Regional Women in Leadership Gala. Black tie. Spouses encouraged. I blinked. You're going? She nodded. I've been nominated. I looked down at the invitation again. At the word, spouses. You want me to come? I want the world to see you. My breath caught. This wasn't a quiet lunch. This wasn't family. This was public.
Corporate.
Unforgiving. But you can say no, she said softly. But then what was all of this for? That stopped me. Everything we'd built, step by step, this was the moment it was leading toward. A mirror. A stage. A decision. The week before the gala passed in a blur. We visited a boutique. Megan picked out the dress herself, a long, elegant midnight blue gown. Off-shoulder. Soft satin. Hugged in all the right places. Refined, yet undeniably feminine. Try it on, she whispered. I stepped into the dressing room. Slipped into it. Zipped up the back. When I stepped out and saw myself in the mirror under boutique lighting, I gasped. So did Megan. You're breathtaking, she said. No more hiding. The day of the gala, we got ready like before, only this time, slower. More deliberate. She clasped a necklace behind my neck, adjusting it just so. I wore soft pearl earrings, a matching clutch, and low, elegant heels. My reflection looked like a woman who had always belonged in this world. But my heart thundered like I was about to walk into fire. Outside the venue, I froze. Megan looked at me. You still want to run? I nodded silently. Then do it now, she said. But if you walk through those doors, you walk in as my woman. No half steps. No hiding. Just you. I swallowed hard and walked in. The chandelier light spilled down like moonlight. Music swirled in the background. Dozens of people, sparkling and composed, moved about in quiet grace. Eyes turned when we entered. And Megan didn't let go of my hand. She introduced me with pride, not apology. Some smiled. Some hesitated. But not one person looked away for long. Because I stood tall,
Poised.
dignified, and free. We sat through speeches,
Toasts. Laughter.
and when Megan's name was called as the recipient of the Leadership Award, she stood to a round of applause and looked right at me as she said, "I wouldn't be who I am if the woman I love hadn't stepped out of fear and into her truth." My chest caught fire. Tears welled in my eyes. When she returned to the table, she kissed me not with passion, but with power. That kiss told the whole room, this is real. This is love. This is earned. Later, in the restroom, as I touched up my lipstick, another woman walked in.
Polished.
Probably late 40s. She stood next to me at the mirror, then said, "You're brave." I met her eyes. "No," I said. "I'm finally honest." She smiled. "And stunning." Back home that night, as we undressed and slipped into silk robes, Megan handed me something small. A box. Inside, a new necklace. Gold, with a delicate letter E charm.
"You earned this," she said.
"I thought I already had everything," I whispered. She held my face in her hands.
"Not yet."
"One last thing." She led me to the full-length mirror. I stood there, hair brushed, gown removed.
Just me.
Feminine.
Complete.
"Now," she said, "look at her. Tell me what you see." I stared, longer than I ever had before. And finally, I said it. "I see me." She smiled. "I see my wife." We kissed. And that night, we didn't sleep as two people changing roles. We slept as two people becoming what they were always meant to be. For days after the gala, things were perfect. Megan was softer, but prouder. I was calmer, but bolder. Every small moment brushing her coat before she left for work, sipping evening tea by the fireplace, folding lingerie while humming softly felt like another thread sewn into the fabric of our new life. One night, Megan came home later than usual. She was quiet. Unusually quiet. I approached her, heels clicking softly on the wooden floor, my nightgown trailing just behind me. "What's wrong?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. She just stared at her phone, then looked up. "There's something I need to tell you." My breath caught. A chill prickled down my spine. "I got a message today," she said slowly. "From who?" She hesitated. "From Daniel's HR department." I blinked. "But we agreed. I wasn't going back." She nodded. "We did." "Then why?" "They said they found a digital trail. An old login. A flagged email from your account. They're asking questions." I felt like the floor had been yanked from under me. Questions? What kind of questions? About identity. Activity. Photos on your cloud backup. Files. They're confused. My hands began to tremble. I deleted everything. Megan stepped closer. "I don't think you did." Silence. Heavy. Suffocating. She reached into her bag and pulled out a thin manila envelope. Inside were printouts. Screenshots. One was of me. In a wig. Wearing the green dress. Taken weeks ago. From a wrong angle. One I hadn't even noticed. Megan's eyes darkened. "This wasn't me," she said. My voice barely came out. Who took it?" A pause. Then she whispered something that made my blood turn to ice. "Your old coworker. Martin. He's been watching. He wants answers." The room spun. Martin. The nosy one. The smirker. The guy who always made jokes at lunch about guys who like dresses. He knew. And now he had proof. "What does he want?" I asked. Megan clenched her jaw. "He wants to meet." I staggered backward, crashing onto the couch. My reflection in the window stared back at me. The earrings. The necklace. The soft robe. I wasn't just playing anymore. I was her now. But she was in danger. "Do you think he'll expose me?" I whispered. Megan stared out the window, then slowly turned. I don't think he'll have to. I blinked. What do you mean? She walked toward me, her voice calm but heavy. Because if you don't face him, you're going to lose control of your own story. My lips parted. But if I do, she nodded. Then this isn't just dress up anymore. I looked down at my painted nails. Everything I had feared was now knocking on the door. Literally. Knock, knock, knock. My head snapped toward the door. We weren't expecting anyone. Megan's eyes widened. It's him, she whispered. Another knock. I stood slowly. The silk of my robe brushed against my ankles like a whisper of warning. Knock, knock, knock. Megan? Came a voice from outside. Familiar.
Smug.
Martin. I turned to Megan. What do I do? She reached for my hand, and in a voice calmer than I ever expected, she said, You open the door as my wife. I stared at her, frozen, terrified. The door handle turned from the outside. Not locked. Not secured.
Click.
The door began to open. Cut to black. Was Martin there to ruin everything, or something else entirely? Would you have opened the door? What do you think happens next to Emily? Comment your prediction below, and if we get enough likes, part 2 is coming.